Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. We have had previously, just the past year has been kind of a crazy year when it's difficult to go places, and there's a lot of different environments that are not what they were before, and we'll see when they open up and things change. But it's kind of driven people in maybe some different directions than they would before. So today I want to explore the 5 jurisdictions that I am noticing that people are moving. I'm going to mention a couple that they're kind of moving away from, but these are kind of 5 jurisdictions, 5 countries that are booming for digital nomads to move to, and that maybe you would want to consider as places that you would go. So I'm going to cover each of them kind of quickly for you, and then if you have questions about them, you can reach out to me and we can discuss them further. So yeah, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up sometime during the thing. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get updated on further videos. And like I said, if you're at all interested in the subject of where to move, how to get residency permits, how to get second passports, improve your visa-free travel, get kind of a backup plan, etc., how to structure yourself for international tax planning, if you're going to relocate, how to pay the lowest legal amount of tax possible, forming companies, opening bank accounts, help with all that, reach out to me, clarity.fm/Michael Rosman. There's a link below, or check out our websites, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com. Okay, so we're going to go through 5 countries that I have noticed, and I'm going to leave the maybe most interesting one that I think is perhaps probably one of the most worth considering to the end, and we're going to start with Mexico. Okay, so this is maybe a surprising one for a lot of people, but I have seen a tremendous, there's obviously the places that I go and the places I'm interested in going, but because I deal with people, we have clients from 51 different countries, deal with lots and lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds, etc. I pay attention to, where are people going? And that kind of, to me, is an indicator of the state of the world and, what's good. And Mexico, I think, is a super interesting one because on paper, in the minds of a lot of people, it's a very dangerous place. There's certainly like 1/3 of all the murders in the world, or not 1/3, sorry. The majority of all the murders in the world basically take place between like Brazil, Mexico, South Africa. Like there's only a handful of countries that account for all of them, and Mexico's pretty high up there, right? But people love Mexico. There's just so many people that I know who are going to live in Mexico. Now it helps that 2020, they were very open, right? That's definitely one of the factors. But beyond that, a lot of people like the life. It's a big country, it offers a lot, large population, lots to do, lots of different environments to check out. You can obviously go from Mexico City to Tulum to Monterrey. You can look at Cabo, you can look at many, many other places that people may want to go. And yeah, people really love it. They love the weather. They love being, potentially on the beach. They love all the richness that Mexico has to offer, all the different things that they can get. Generally speaking, the experience that I have from, many clients who either live there or are moving there or have moved there, etc., is they don't find safety to be a big concern. They're like, you kind of know what's going on. You stay out of the way. If you're part of the cartels, that would be bad, but you're not. So, from that standpoint, it's pretty good. Prices are pretty good. What about from tax standpoint? From a tax standpoint, people evade, right? Like Mexico is just this massive tax evasion place. So it's not a tax-friendly place at all, but that's how people deal with it. They have some residency programs that are pretty easy, some visas that are fairly easy for people to get for extended stays, and so that all works pretty well. So anyway, that's our number 1 place that I've seen definitely booming for the world of kind of digital nomads, international travelers, international business people, etc., is Mexico. Number 2 place, Portugal. Okay, so definitely, I've talked a bunch on this about, we're fans of the Golden Visa program. I talked to somebody earlier this evening about the D7 program. There's a lot of people who are going to Portugal because look, you have access to the EU, so it's a Schengen visa for people outside. Even for citizens, you can go get the non-habitual residency regime. That's pretty good. It's, maybe not the best in the world from a tax standpoint, but it's pretty good. The weather in Portugal is pretty good. It's maybe a little bit rural, a little bit small for some people, but a lot of people really like it, right? It's a program that leads to citizenship quite easily. And so, we're big fans. Again, if you're interested, reach out to us. We can help you get the D7 visa, get the Golden Visa, purchase property, whatever it is that you need in that respect. So anyway, that's kind of number 2 place that I've noticed is kind of on the booming list. Okay. What is the number 3 place? I would say Thailand. So Thailand's a really interesting one because you can contrast it with Malaysia, with Bali. I'm a huge Malaysia fan. Like, I love Malaysia a lot. I think it's really good. But the reality is that Malaysia's really closed right now. Malaysia has had kind of an anti-foreigners vibe going on over the last number of months. They killed the Malaysia My Second Home program. They're saying they're going to bring it back, but there's no timelines on that. There's a lot of political chaos that has happened there in 2020. They have a really old government. So there's like a lot of kind of uncertainty there. And by contrast, Thailand has offered kind of some new visa programs. The prices have gone down in real estate due to a drop in tourism over the last little bit. It's been relatively open. It's a little bit of a hassle to get in at first, but once you're in, you're pretty good. Their tax system is, if you compare it to say like Bali, like to Indonesia, much, much better, right? Certainly much more established than places like Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, etc. So, I mean, Thailand has been a place for quite a few years that has been kind of interesting, but I'm noticing that, it continues to be a place that is quite interesting for people. Okay, so that's, yet another one that you may want to take a look at for you, just depending on what it is that you're interested in. What's the next place that I would look at? So I would say that it's, well, let's skip to the last one for now, which I think, when you think about it, is not really surprising, but a lot of people have biases against it, and I think those biases tend to go away as you move past it, okay? And that is UAE, in particular Dubai. I talked to a client, woke up to a message from someone today saying, hey, are you in Dubai still? I was like, no, I'm not there right now. I'll be there in a few weeks. They're like, oh, great, let me know. I just moved here, So, okay, good. That's one. Then I talked to another person, another client. He's like, oh, I just arrived in Dubai a few days ago, and he's like, I'm really surprised. It's clean. There's a lot of space. It has every service imaginable for people who are interested. It's really easy, zero tax. Really, it's the only place that has that. The weather is, a bunch of the year quite good. Okay, it's maybe a little chilly at night, say in the winter, and, unbearably hot in the summer. But Dubai is probably more than almost any other place out there, a place that I see on a trajectory that it's just getting better. And what I'm noticing a lot, there's probably no place in the world that I'm seeing wealthy people go more than Dubai. And I think this makes a lot of sense, right? It's not really that surprising that you would see people say, hey, listen, I'm going to take off from where I am and I'm going to go relocate to Dubai because I'm sick of the games and the hassles and the challenges that I'm going through dealing with these other countries, right? It's just not that easy. It's just, it's kind of challenging. So that would be the place that is by far, I can just really see, one of the things I think about a lot, and maybe this is helpful for you, it's certainly helpful for me, is I try to think of this, and I'm going to do a video on it in the future, but how is it, what is the trajectory of countries? When you look at where is this country today versus where will it be in 10 years, Dubai is almost certainly going to be much better. If I look at a country like France, is it going to be much better 10 years from now? I'm not so confident. In fact, it could quite likely be worse. If I even look back 5 years, was it better 5 years ago or is it better now? It's really not clear to me that it's better now. I think actually there's a good argument that it's worse now than it was 5 years ago. If I look at Spain, 5 years ago versus today, quite possibly worse 5 years ago. Is it going to be better or worse in 5 years? Possibly worse in 5 years, right? Italy, Greece, etc. We can start running down this list of countries and we can say, whoa, this is not really what it is that I want. So that's where Portugal, right? We've seen some definite improvements in Portugal. If you look at Southeast Asia, Malaysia's improved a lot. You can look at Cambodia, Bali, arguably to some extent Thailand, but certainly Dubai and Qatar have just improved dramatically. And Dubai is by far the more open, by far the easier one to be in. And so it is a place that more than virtually any other place I've really seen an uptake, like just recently, right? The difference that I've noticed, what people say is that, they have kind of this bias where they're like, oh, it's a Muslim country, right? But then they come and they're like, well, it's really an expat country. There's over 90% of the population is expats. It's really set up to be expat friendly, right? And in a world where so many countries are not becoming friendly to foreigners, if you just think like China, right? People who've lived in China for decades are saying, oh, you know what, for the first time, like, I don't feel comfortable here. Under Xi's government, I want to leave, right? You go and you look at places like Hong Kong, people, it was traditionally, even leading up to, of course, when the handover took place from UK, that was like, there was some uncertainty. But over the years, people were like, oh, Hong Kong, it's kind of lost that allure. You had places like Singapore, which were very good and people wanted to go there, etc. But the reality is that, they've kind of closed themselves off because they can only take so many people, and they're like, hey, look, we've got enough. That's it. So they have a much more restrictive immigration policy. You have some up-and-comers, right? Again, like I said, Asia is kind of the future, and there's, certainly that part of the world is improving, but it's not quite there yet, right? You could go and look at parts of Africa. It's just not quite there yet for most people. Latin America is kind of really bizarre. And so I just don't see that people are going there. The one place that some people do tend to like, although I haven't noticed the trend there this year, and probably due to kind of some of the restrictions that have been in place. And so I'll make it last, even though I said that I would make Dubai, because it was kind of that big one last, is Colombia. So Colombia is definitely one that I think gets a surprising amount of interest from perhaps a surprising number of people, especially if you haven't been there. It's a place that people really quite like. And so again, the tax planning there is a little bit more complex. It's certainly not as broad in terms of its offering as some place like Mexico, and it's definitely been a little bit more restrictive in some of these places. But of all the areas in Latin America, I would say it stands out along with Mexico the most as being interesting to people. So if you just think about people voting with their feet and what that, it's kind of like, hey, like what are the best places people are voting? What's going up? These 5 places. So just to recap quickly, we had Mexico, we had Thailand, we had Portugal, we have Dubai, which I think is the #1 on the rise place that we're talking about here, and Colombia are the places that I see a trend towards in the current environment. So anyway, I hope that helps. If you would like to discuss it more, please reach out to me. Like I said, I'd love to hear from you. What is it that you think are the more interesting places for you at this point in time? Share it in the comments below. And yeah, like I said, give the thumbs up to the video, and we will see you guys on the next video.